Welcome to the Windup with Will, everyone. I'm your host, Will, here with another episode. Today we're going to be talking about the World Series. I'm a little behind, I know, a few days, but I've recently gotten most of my room sorted. As you can see, I finally am filming from my desk here. I've got some posters behind me that I've set up. I made the aesthetic look good. I got a light here in front of me, so I've got a little more better setup than I normally have. Hopefully, I got this going and I can do this a lot more frequently, that I have an actual space and aesthetic now. But anyway, jumping into today's video, the 2024 World Series started on Friday night. I wanted to get out a prediction video before then. I'm going to still tell you what my thoughts were going into the World Series and what my thoughts are currently. So the first game is Friday night, and it's the Yankees and Dodgers that are in the World Series. They're the teams that made it. We'll talk about the ALCS and NLCS here in a second, but I want to get through the first two games real quick. I guess I should wrap up what happened in the NL and ALCSs. So last Saturday, the Yankees beat the Guardians 5-2 in 10 innings, winning the series 4-1 to advance to their first World Series in 15 years. The Cleveland Guardians had a 2-0 lead going into the top of the sixth inning when Giancarlo Stanton hit a two-run home run to tie the game, and then Juan Soto hit a three-run home run in the top of the 10th to seal it for the Yankees, sending them to their first World Series in 15 years. Giancarlo Stanton was named ALCS MVP. I have his stats here in front, just a few of his stats in front of me. He had 4 home runs, 7 runs batted in, and a 12.22 OPS in the ALCS. Very deserving of him. He had a bunch of home runs, a bunch of big hits in that series. He's very deserving of the ALCS MVP. Juan Soto would have been another pick too, but I think Stanton was the one who deserved it with his home runs in that series. So the Yankees advance on the AL side, and then the NL side the next night, Sunday night. My New York Mets, unfortunately, we fell to the Dodgers 10-5 in Game 6. It was the matchup that the Mets wanted. It's the matchup that I wanted, Sean Manaea versus the Dodgers bullpen game, but it just did not work out. We wanted that game. We wanted it to be against their bullpen. That was game 2 in the series. That was our first win in the series, and it looked like, hey, we can hit these guys. Their bullpen is good, but we've been able to hit them in game 2. This is working out well. If we can force game 7, anything can happen. And I think that was the mentality, but as the game went on, Sean Manaea just did not pitch well. It did not look like he had it in him, and the announcers even talked about it going into the game, that it's the most games in a season he's ever pitched in. It's the most innings he's ever pitched in a season, and you could kind of tell it in the first few innings of the game that he did not look like he was all there, that he was maybe looking fatigued, or he just wasn't feeling it that night. I mean, maybe another night he's fine. But you could tell he was a little fatigued. He did not look right in in that game. And it was a very interesting series that every game was essentially a blowout in the NLCS, and there was no lead changes and there was no saves in the series, except for in Game 6. The Mets, whoever scored first won because there was no lead changes. The Mets scored first in the top of the first inning to get a 1-0 lead off an Alonso infield single. And then in the bottom of the first, the Dodgers immediately score 2. In the bottom of the third, the Dodgers score 4 more off of an Tommy Edman 2-run home run and a Will Smith 2-run home run. The first 4 runs of the game were all driven in by Tommy Edman. Killed the Mets in this series, him and Kiki Hernandez. Vientos then hit a 2-run home run in the top of the fourth to make it 6-3, kind of keep the Mets in the game. Then Ohtani singled, driving in Will Smith. Alvarez hit a sac fly for the Mets to make it 7-4, keeping the Mets still kind of in it, giving them the hope of that comeback. They've been the comeback kids all year long. But then in the bottom of the 8th, Betts doubled in a run. Teoscar Hernandez had a sac fly. Kiki Hernandez singled in a run. And then it got to the 9th inning. The Mets are down 6 runs. It took McNeil. We got a couple hits with 2 outs. and McNeil scored Tyrone Taylor to make it 10-5, and Blake Trinan came in to get the save. Actually, did he pitched 2 innings. So when Blake Trinan came in the eighth, it was 7-4. So that was the only save in the series. It was the only series or only game in the series to have a lead change, and it was the only game in the series that in which the team that scored first did not win. It was kind of a weird series, and there was a lot of firsts in it. But and the Dodgers have just looked like a team of the Mets have been a team of destiny, but the Dodgers just look better than everyone. Their lineup is so fierce, and their bullpen is very deep and good. And their starting pitching is shaky because they just don't have a ton of it. And if they don't go that many innings, they're going into their bullpen, and they need their bullpen at least one game in every series to go the length because they just don't have the starters. But the Dodgers win that series 4-2. Great season for my New York Mets. I said it on social media yesterday. Like it took me a few days to get over it, but it was a heck of a year for the Mets to make it that far. If you would have told me back in May when we were 11 games under 500 that we would not only make the playoffs, but we would be playing in Game 6 of the NLCS, had all these incredible comebacks, and we're on the verge of going to the World Series against the Yankees, I don't know if I would have believed it. But it was a terrific year. One of the most fun Mets teams I've ever that I've ever followed. Maybe the most fun team I've ever followed as a Mets fan. Just a lot of exciting characters, an exciting season. There was a lot of fun moments, and to have a lot of comeback wins and make it this far, I think shows that the Mets are maybe here, that they're maybe becoming what we thought they would be under Steve Cohen's ownership. But also, like, it gives me hope for next year, especially if we can bring back Pete Alonso, which I think the Mets will. But going forward, I think it shows that the Mets and the Mets have proved to themselves that they can win on that stage and be there, and not just choke away at the end of the season. So it was a great season for the Mets. I maybe do another video talking about the Mets' entire season another time. But back to the MLB playoffs. The Dodgers win the series 4-2. Tommy Edman is named NLCS MVP. He very much deserved it. The Mets cannot get him or Kiki Hernandez out, and Tommy Edman batted phenomenally. Let me pull up his stats here for the series. There's some of his stats. He batted .407 in the series. He had 11 hits, 11 runs batted in, and over 1,000 OPS. And he played multiple positions. So like that, he is by far the NLCS MVP. There could have been several guys, but he was their best player in this series. He hit phenomenally. The Mets could not get him out at all. And the Dodgers and Yankees face each other in the World Series for the first time in 43 years. They have met in the World Series more than any other two teams. This is now the 12th time that they've met each other in the World Series. First time since 1981. They're probably the two biggest teams in the sport in terms of you got New York versus Los Angeles, two opposite sides of the country. Huge fan bases, huge payrolls, huge stars on both teams. It is the dream matchup that MLB wanted, and a lot of people have wanted this for a while. But there have been a lot of jokes by a lot of people, including myself, of, yeah, no one wanted this series. Only MLB wanted it, and the fans of those teams wanted it. But everyone else wanted the Guardians to make it, or the Tigers, or the Mets, or the Brewers, or some other team rather than the two biggest teams. And especially me as a Mets fan, I wanted the Mets to make it, and I was really even in my pre-postseason video, I said it'd be the Mets and Yankees in the World Series, and that I had the Mets winning in 7. My preseason video, I had the Dodgers winning the World Series over the Astros. And the Dodgers have made it there. And that would be, well, before I get into that, let's go ahead and go through the first two games. So the Dodgers, I think, have been the best team all year. They have the best record in baseball. They get home field advantage in this series. The Yankees, they have some good starting pitching and two really good hitters, and that is what has helped them get here. I really think the National League is the better league now. I think it has the top heavyweight teams, the better teams. The American League, outside of a couple of teams, it just does not seem as tough. The Yankees if you look at their lineup, it's just not that all impressive of a lineup. I should say they have three good. If Stanton's healthy, he's a third good hitter. They have Gleyber Torres, who's an okay hitter. Nothing terrific, but he's a good hitter. Then you have Juan Soto, who's going to get one of the biggest contracts in the sport this offseason. Then you have Aaron Judge, who perhaps had the best offensive year this year, and then Giancarlo Stanton, one of the best home run hitters of his generation. And then after that, you have Jazz Chisholm, who is a good all around player, but he's not a terrific hitter. I mean, he's a good hitter, but he's not a terrific hitter. On if he were to play on the Mets, he would probably bat like seventh or eighth. But in the Yankees playoff roster, he is batting fifth. And you have Anthony Rizzo, who has had better days. The last few years he's had trouble staying on the field healthy. When he is on the field, he's a good player, but his stats don't really show that. Anthony Volpe has been okay, and Alex Verdugo is an okay player as well as Austin Wells, their catcher, yeah, Austin Wells. They have an okay lineup outside of three really solid guys in the middle and two guys that are two of the best in the sport. Stanton, when he's healthy and right, is one of the most feared hitters, home run hitters in the game, but he has trouble being there. So the Yankees don't really strike me as the prolific team that some people think that they are. They have good starting pitching, and they have a few good hitters. The Dodgers have good hitters 1 through 9. They have good guys coming off the bench. Their starting pitching is their weakness, but they have a very deep and good bullpen, which is shown in the Padres series and the Mets series that they can win games against good lineups. Lineups that I think are better than the Yankees. So going into this series, I think the Dodgers have the advantage, and so far through the first two games, they've shown that. Game one was Friday night. The Dodgers won 6-3 in 10 innings. The scoring, we had Cole Garrett, starting pitcher for the Yankees, been one of the best pitchers in the sport over the last 5 or 6 years. The Dodgers had Jack Flaherty going, who's been a good pitcher for them. And he was great in the Padres series. He was great in game one of the Mets series. He was not so good in game 5 of the Mets series. But he had a good game one against the Yankees. He pitched 5 1/3 innings, gave up 5 hits, 2 earned runs, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts, 90 pitches. That's a pretty good performance for him there. But on the other side, Garrett Cole was better. He pitched 6 innings, 4 hits, 1 earned run, no walks, 4 strikeouts. Only 88 pitches. You would think he would get to go a little farther. The one run he gave up was a Will Smith sac fly in the fifth, and on the top of the sixth, Giancarlo Stanton hit a 2-run home run. Stanton with those home runs hits a 2-run home run to give him a 2-1 lead. Then Mookie Betts in the bottom of the eighth hit a sac fly to score Ohtani. I was watching the game at this point. I wasn't watching it early on. What was I doing Friday night? I don't remember at the time, but I joined watching the game later. I said before this series, like I said a while ago, no one wanted the series. I didn't want this series. I think this is a bad matchup for a lot of casual fans that really don't like either team. If you don't really care, you're probably watching it. But they're either way, it's good. It's a good series. I think it will be a good series. I'm still gonna watch it, even though I don't like either team, even though I'm not really rooting for either team, even though I might slightly lean Dodgers because I just like the Yankees more. But um, I'm still going to watch this series. I might not watch every pitch, but I'm going to watch this series. It's two of the better teams. But I joined the game in time to see Betts hit the sac fly to score Ohtani to tie the game. In the top of the 10th inning, Anthony Volpe grounded into a fielder's choice, scoring Jazz Chisholm, make it 3-2 Yankees. And it looked like we were gonna have like, okay, the Yankees are gonna steal game one, and this is gonna be really interesting. And then in the bottom of the 10th, I need to go through who got on first. Okay. Will Smith flied out to right to lead off the bottom of the 10th. Gavin Lux then walked. Tommy Edman reached on an infield single to second, moving Lux to second. Ohtani fouled out to left, 2 outs now. Runners on first and second. Ohtani, the biggest player, is up to bat. Also, by the way, because of Ohtani and the other Japanese players, Yoshinobu Yamamoto is also on the Dodgers. Like the MLB playoffs have been watched so much in Japan, and then in their first series against the Padres, Yu Darvish was pitching in Game 5 against Yamamoto, and Darvish is also from Japan. And it was the most watched division series game probably of all time. There was 14 million viewers in the United States and possibly up to 28 or 30 million people in Japan watching it. So not only has that been watched, but this World Series has the potential to be the most watched World Series of all time. You know, the biggest stage, bottom of the 10th inning, Ohtani's up batting. It's almost like the World Baseball Classic all over again, except this time he gets out. Makes 2 outs. Mookie Betts is then up. He's intentionally walked because they brought the Yankees had Nestor Cortez in here who hadn't pitched in like 37 days. I don't know. It's kind of an odd decision to bring him in. He walks Betts to face Freddie Freeman, the guy who's hobbling on a very bad ankle, reminiscent of Bill Buckner, of Kirk Gibson in the past, of just playing through absolute pain, doing hours of exercise just to be able to play. He hits a walk-off grand slam in the 10th inning. Insane. I think they said it's the only walk-off grand slam in World Series history. It might even be playoff history. Like, that's just insane. Like, storybook moment. Awesome for Freddie Freeman. Awesome for the Dodgers that they have a comeback in Game 1. And it looks like this series is going to be electric. Absolutely phenomenal finish to Game 1. Kind of like last year's World Series between the Dodgers and Diamondbacks, or not, between the Rangers and Diamondbacks. Then Game 2, another exciting matchup. We had Carlos Rodon pitching for the Yankees and Yoshinobu Yamamoto pitching for the Dodgers. Yamamoto pitched 6 1/3 innings, 1 hit, 1 earned run, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts. Absolutely shut the Yankees down. That only hit and run came off of a Juan Soto home run in the top of the 3rd. That time it tied the game. Tommy Edman homered for the Dodgers first, then Juan Soto homered to tie the game. Pitching for the Yankees, Rodon only pitched a 3 1/3 innings, 6 hits, 4 earned runs, 3 strikeouts. Not a good performance for him. If you give the Dodgers the lead, it's going to be hard to come back on because of how good that bullpen is. In the bottom of the 3rd, the Dodgers retaliated. Teoscar Hernandez hit a 2-run home run. Freddie Freeman then homered again. And then Stanton singled in the top of the 9th to make it 4-2, cut the game close again. Juan Soto then got a double. It's looking like, hey, Aaron Judge is up now. Juan Soto doubled. It's looking like the Yankees are. I lost my train of thought. I was trying to look at how it all played out last night again. Juan Soto doubled. Aaron Judge is up. It's looking like, hey, they're kicking back in this. He gets out. Stanton singles to drive him in, and then Chisholm singles to move Stanton to second. Anthony Rizzo's hit by the pitch. It loads the bases. We're thinking are we going to have another grand slam? And we got Anthony Volpe with 2 outs, bases loaded, and he strikes out. Blake Trinan, or actually it wasn't Blake Trinan, it was Alex Vesia. Blake Trinan started the inning, and then Alex Vesia finished it to get the save. Dodgers win 4-2. They're up 2-0 in the series. This is a huge lead for the Dodgers. Being up 2-0, and of course I got to go play in New York now for 3 games, so we'll see how that goes. But I just want to briefly say, coming into the series, I would have said the Dodgers would win in 7. I figured it would be a close series. Maybe they win in 6. But after watching the first 2 games, the Dodgers might win in 5. I might be best to say Dodgers in 6. Yankees might find a way to win a couple at home. But the Dodgers have looked terrific in the first 2 games. Their lineup is great. Their bullpen is great. Once they get that lead, it is hard to come back. And just like I said earlier, the Yankees, outside of a few good hitters, they just don't have the lineup depth that the Dodgers do, where they can get hits and score runs from any position, especially against a good bullpen like the Dodgers. And to top it off, Aaron Judge, their best player, who's maybe had one of the best offensive seasons of all time this year, has just been missing in the playoffs. He's batted 150 in the playoffs. He was 0 for 4 last night with 3 strikeouts. Let me go to what were his stats in Game 1. In Game 1, he was 1 of 5 with 3 strikeouts. So he has just been missing in action in the playoffs for him. It's really been Soto and Stanton carrying this Yankees team so far in the playoffs. And if the Yankees want to have any chance at winning, they're going to need Judge to step up and play well back in New York. Otherwise, it's going to be, sorry, my keys are falling out of my pocket there. Otherwise, he's going to take a lot of blame for this, and there's going to be a lot of questions of, yeah, he had one of the greatest seasons ever, but he did horrible in the playoffs, and the Yankees lost the World Series. On the other hand, the Dodgers and Shohei Ohtani, quite at the story that Shohei has carried them, been a part of them this far. He has been the difference in this, and it's also unique that in the series too, these are the two front runners for the MVPs in each league: Shohei Ohtani in the National League, Aaron Judge in the American League. So this is a storybook matchup that MLB wanted. I think the Dodgers are going to win this series. It would have been my prediction if I got in this video up a few days ago. I would have said it would take 7 games though, but after watching the first few games, it might be in 5. It could be a sweep. I don't think it'll be a sweep. I think the Yankees will find a way to win one of the games. I'm going to briefly look at who is pitching tomorrow night in Game 3 back in New York. Dodgers are undecided at the moment, so that means it's probably a bullpen game for them. Yankees are throwing Luis Gil, 15-7 for them on the year. And Wednesday night, do they have projections that far ahead? They do not, on who's going to be pitching in Game 4 on Wednesday night. But it's been an exciting series so far, but I think the Dodgers are going to pull it out. Let me know down in the comments below what you guys think. That's all I've got for this video. Let me know what you think. Who's going to win the World Series this year? Who's your World Series MVP? Oh, I forgot to mention that as well. Who I think the World Series MVP will be. I think after the first couple of games, it's going to be Freddie Freeman. He's hit 2 home runs in both games, one of them a walk-off grand slam. I think he's going to be the World Series MVP. I would have said before the series, if I had gotten this video up a couple days ago, I would have said Shohei Ohtani. But Freeman has played phenomenally in the first 2 games, and he's battling through injury. I think he's probably going to get it. But we still got more games. Anything can happen. There could be potentially 5 more games. It could go 7 games. And Shohei Ohtani is also questionable. I think he injured his shoulder last night sliding into second trying to steal. He got thrown out. But I think they're optimistic that he's going to be able to come back and play. But I still think the Dodgers are going to win this series. Let me know who you think will win the World Series in the comments down below. Let me know who your World Series MVP pick is. And any other comments you have, let me know down below. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.